Hello and welcome to From the BOLN, the Burnley Football Club podcast. Well, it's the international break and none of us are that much of a fan of international football, but we thought we'd get a couple of special guests in over the next couple of episodes, and I'm absolutely delighted that this particular episode we're joined by 3/5 of probably one of the biggest musical exports to come out of East Lancashire. We're joined by Barney, Matt and Simon from the Milltown Brothers. Lads, thank you so much for joining us. How are we?
All good. All good.
Very, very pleased to be here and to be invited on.
Excellent. Also joined by Simon Evans, no stranger to a stage himself, and we'll get on to how Simon Evans crossed paths with Barney many.
We don't need to go on to that.
But let's just start. Let's start with the present day. Massively successful gig at the Hebden Bridge Trades Club at the end of August. Just tell us, how did that come about after all these years of not performing live as the Milltown Brothers? How did that kind of germ of an idea land with that gig?
Wouldn't think about that ourselves. Milltown, we would never really plan anything, so it was just. I think Simon, to be honest, I wanted to do some gigs.
I had quite a big number birthday in May, and everyone sort of said it was a good idea. We'd get together, have a few drinks, go for a meal, and also rehearse. And we rehearsed in Burnley at Groove at Chris's place, and really enjoyed it, and decided that we wanted to do a gig. So that was probably what
we were quite lucky, because what we didn't want to do is arrange a gig 3 months in advance, and then because Barney is on tour a lot anyway, so it's hard to sort of plan dates because Barney does it full time. So we this date came available at the Trades Club, and it was only like a month away. So we thought, well, let's do it. And tickets sold out in a few days, and it was a really great experience. The atmosphere that night was really special for us. So yeah, it just like things tend to fall into place for us. We're not great planners. We just kind of make a decision, and then luckily that one turned out to be a good decision. And then after that we thought, well, why not do some more? And so we're going to do some more.
Excellent. I mean, you mentioned things kind of just falling into place. I guess after so long not performing, you must have been delighted at the way it went, the way everything sounded. We said off recording what a brilliant venue it is, what a great atmosphere it is. You probably couldn't have wished for a better comeback gig. I don't want to use the word comeback.
No. We didn't know if we'd sell 20 tickets or when it would turn up. We didn't know how we perform. I haven't been on stage for a long time, but it was. You could just tell the atmosphere in the room was really, because I think without getting too sentimental about it, the people who want to come and see us, the songs remind them of a time in their lives, and obviously they're special to us. So it was kind of like everyone in the room was kind of enjoying the moment for what it was, and it was great.
Plus, there was a free bar for us.
Yeah, which is always good. So we'll turn up anyway when that's the case.
Yeah.
Did Lockdown play?
It was a free bar, but they shut it after we had it.
Did Lockdown play into it at all? Because I went to a music festival out here in the States in the summer, and there was a lot of bands playing there from before your era, sort of 80s or even late 70s punk bands that had reformed during lockdown and were now back out on the circuit. Was that a period of time when you started thinking maybe we should give this a go, or is it just the birthday?
Well, we did some Zoom meetings
Didn't
just for fun, didn't we?
Yeah.
We just had a few beers and a chat, and so maybe that started us talking a bit more.
Yeah, well, that was it. I think we had a kind of a gathering nearly together with our whole road crew and everything. And I mean, we've always kept in touch. We've always been friends. We've always, we did an album about 7 years ago, and we did a couple of gigs around that, and they were really, really great. So we've always enjoyed doing it. It's just, day-to-day life gets in the way. I think, without saying that we're getting on, but our kids are growing up a bit now, so we've actually got a bit more time to think about it, and why not play?
And we just finished Stockholm, weren't we, just before COVID hit, so that we weren't able to play any gigs with that. So I think that probably was in the back of our minds to at least do some gigs to promote that when we could do. Yeah.
But the last gigs that we did were sort of festivals, weren't they? So these are the first ones that we've done under our own steam, So it was we were a bit concerned, like Matt said, as whether they would go well, but
it
seemed to be doing.
Yeah, it was. I think once we did the sound check and the sound was great, it all felt a bit more. We were more comfortable, but it was a great night. And when hopefully the one in Lancaster, and then that's the other one in Barnoldswick will be equally as good,
and hopefully equally free bar.
Yes,
it's always about the free bar, and that's what you want. I mean, that's the whole reason for doing this, isn't it? Really, but yeah, Lancaster on November 25th, Cantina, and then I think you said Barnoldswick sold out already. An intimate gig the night before Christmas, 23rd of December. You mentioned the last two albums there, Stockholm and Long Road. Before that, you had kind of a period. I think Rubber Band was kind of early 2000s. Were you? I mean, for me, there's no real difference in the kind of songs on the later albums than there is on Slinky and Valve. There's that kind of the kind of musician, the kind of music kind of runs through. There's not been a kind of attempt to do something that's left field like a lot of bands do. Were you always confident that they would transfer well to live performance? Because I mean, the newer songs just fit so well with the older songs at Hebden Bridge.
Yeah, we're keen on that. I think we're very pleased with because of the latest Long Road and Stockholm. I think we never really. I don't think we want to experiment too much. We do try slightly different sounds when we do the album, but it's generally is about the songs and then the musicianship, which is Barney, Simon, and Nina James sort of bringing their music to it. So I think there's always going to be that thread. So I think we always thought that they'd work. There's some songs, some older songs that we used which worked really better than we remembered. I mean, when we played Sally Ann, and at the beginning I started the acoustic guitar, started singing it, and when you've got a room, we were joining in singing. I mean, we've never had that before when we were back in 1991. So things like that are really kind of great moments, really. So I don't know what I'm saying, but I think we write the songs we write in the style we do, and we're not looking to change, but we're always confident that we're going to sort of fit into the set.
Going back to when you started producing like the shirts that you're wearing here with the Slinky and the Claret and Blue, and I think I remember a white long sleeve T-shirt with Milltown Brothers in Claret and Blue on it as well. Was at that time Burnley weren't a big club, were they? So that wasn't like some sort of big merchandising move to do that, was it really? Or what was it all about that?
I think we were just generally massive Burnley fans, and we liked to talk. It was quite awkward to talk about ourselves back in the day. We didn't, we weren't great at doing interviews. If you go back and look at any of our TV shows, you'd see that we were terrible at being interviewed. You're probably experiencing it now. But so we used to talk about Burnley was quite something we could actually, just talk about, because it was something that we were quite passionate. So, and things like, Time Out in London picked up on it, and I remember they came up, and we would, kicking the ball on the pitch. We were being interviewed in the changing room. Steve Davis, not Steve Davis, who became captain. The first Steve Davis captain. We got to know him quite well. We were showing around. There was John Deary, I think.
Neil Grucock.
We were kind of, and then we did an interview for was it IT Granada on the terraces during the game. We were little kids were licking bees behind us, and we were there doing this interview while the game was going on. While Burnley were attacking. So I think we felt quite comfortable in that world. It wasn't a thing we thought, this would be cool to do this. It's just something we just wanted, we felt comfortable doing.
Yeah. That clip on Granada is fantastic, because I think, Barney, you're signing an autograph at the start of it. Like, someone's brought their kind of 7-inch single to get signed on the long side, and then, like you say, there's the kids. And I think it ends with "We all 8 bastard Rovers" going out on Granada. You can definitely hear the word bastard. You're watching it now and you're thinking, that is crazy. But there's that great shot, which we'll put on our kind of Twitter, that Andy Devaney sent us in the WhatsApp group, with you guys in your kind of slinky tops, and it is like John Deary and Neil Grucock and things like that. Yeah. How much was, because, I've always got this kind of romantic vision of kind of the late 80s, early 90s football and music being kind of interlaced. Obviously, New Order doing the 1990 World Cup song. Yeah. You were kind of the first band to link themselves with a kind of town football club, weren't you, to a certain extent?
Well, yeah, we were. I mean, we were, for those reasons. Because we were in London. It was quite, because Burnley's it's quite a cool club, isn't it? Especially down in London, it's one of the original members. It's got a big, passionate fan base. He's won the league. So it's kind of, and at that time, as you say, we were, I don't know whether we were in, Division 4 or Division 3 at that point. So yeah, it was all, there was a lot going on, wasn't there? Whereas everyone who was going to raves was wearing the same gear as going to the football games, and it was that kind of like culture at the time, to go to football and listen to music. It did kind of blend in, like I say, New Order. I remember that was quite a big summer for us, wasn't it? With the World Cup.
Stone Roses, when they're associated with football quite early on, didn't they, as well? And that, yeah, definitely.
Did you ever get any feedback from Burnley players that they were listening to your stuff or anything? I mean, the only time we brought up music on our podcast was when we interviewed Roger Eli, and we asked him what would have been on his cassette on his way back from the win at York, and he said, like, and it was the most on brand answer I could think. And he's like, probably Luther Vandross or Alexander O'Neill. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I thought Roger Eli would be listened to. But did you ever have any Burnley players or get to know any of the lads?
There's some came to some gigs.
Yeah, but
Chris Brass.
Yeah, my brother-in-law is Chris Brass, so I know that they were all knew about the Milltown Brothers, in Paul Weller, Cookie, was it? I've actually went on the stag do with quite a few of them, to be honest. And I still keep in touch with a lot of them. Still live around the area. Jerry Harrison, Steve Davis, David Ayres, David Ayres. So yeah, I know that they definitely knew about us and thought we were quite. They thought we were quite cool. Obviously, we thought they were very cool. But I remember when we went on the stag do with them, they were not starstruck, but they were kind of like, oh yeah, I'm not telling us. Kind of. So yeah, they did know.
Yeah, they used to play our song to run out to.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they used to come on to Which Way Should I Jump?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned in that Granada clip that you'd love to play a gig at Turf Moor. Have you given up hope of that?
Def Leppard beat us to it.
Def Leppard beat you to it.
Yeah.
That'd be quite something, wouldn't it? That'd be fantastic. Kind of, we've had. I remember back to the kind of late 90s, early 2000s when we were trialing loads of kind of crap ideas like dancing dogs and things like that. But we had Bubble from Big Brother on the pitch at half time. We had Big Brothers, who were some kind of weird urban pop act. I mean, did you never get the call to kind of?
I think that would be a tough one half time at Turf Moor, I think you'd be getting a lot of pelters.
Yeah.
Playing, dancing in the middle of the pitch. I can imagine alongside not giving a few comments on that. But yeah, well, we never say never. Never say never.
Definitely. Just looking at kind of, you mentioned the Stone Roses, and you were kind of part of that Manchester set, but not part of that Manchester set, I guess, because of your sound was a bit more kind of American focused. Dylan, I think that your Dylan covers for me are just incredible. I mean, Positively 4th Street, I think he's probably as good as the original, if not kind of slightly better for me. Did that sound hinder you a little bit in the early 90s when everybody was going more baggy and that kind of, really traditional Manchester sound that came about?
We were definitely, as you say, influenced by the Bears, Bob Dylan, Neil Young, bands like.
It was great that was happening. We were living in Manchester at the time, and loved it all. But we weren't quite that, like you say, we weren't that style. But it didn't do us any harm when we were starting out. To be a band coming from Manchester at that time when it was all kicking off.
You remember travelling down to play the Mean Fiddler when the Sparrow Carpers were playing in Alexander Palace, and he's just all the way down the M1 and M6, all these people dressed in this real Manchester sort of. You could tell something was really changing at that point.
I think what our possible problem was that when it all kind of started to die down and new music came, like Nirvana and grunge and that, we were kind of we were kind of like half linked, half not. We were kind of caught in no man's land maybe at that point, and that didn't do us any favors, I don't think.
Yeah, you did. I mean, you did a gig with Nirvana, didn't you? I mean, that you are kind of quite, separated from Nirvana, but I guess the festival bills and kind of gig bills will throw bands together, won't it? What do you remember that night?
We played. We was in Boston, and it was a festival in Boston in September, October '91, and I think we played earlier on, and then were you with us, Bon? When the three or four of us, we went to watch Nirvana play, and
I didn't know. Yeah,
we didn't really know much about them. So people were saying from the record company that you got to check these guys out. It's a whole new scene in the US, and personally, I thought it was a bit like heavy metal and a bit sort of like Black Sabbath. But then you heard the record afterwards, and you heard the quality of the songwriting, and how fantastic they were. But yeah, I think we were on the same bill as them at Reading Festival as well. Yeah. So paths
that
did
night
cross.
In Boston, we watched them, and it was like you could tell something was happening.
Oh, it was
definitely
definitely
very low ceiling. And
real excitement,
really exciting gig.
Stage diving.
I didn't know anything about them, and then we came home after the tour, and like 3 months later, they took over the world, didn't they?
And it kind of blew away this sort of jangle 60s psychedelic guitar-y stuff that we were doing, and we had to have a bit of a reset, didn't we? And that affected the second record, I think.
I was going to ask about that because there is a shift between those two records. As bands, are you always looking to kind of take influences from anything new comes along, or are you kind of stubbornly ploughing that kind of path that you've set out on originally?
No, I think you do. I think the second album, we've been touring a lot for a long time at that point. We've done almost a year touring. And, our songs were getting longer, groovier, and our hair was getting longer and groovier. And I think the record company were getting wider and groovier. But the record company were kind of saying, well, if you got a single we can put out. And then we got into that classic record company band situation where we wanted to do stuff we were doing, and they wanted us to do stuff that we used to do. And we weren't really gelling with them anymore, and so the second album, while there's some really good songs on it, I think the sound of it is a bit not quite what we had in mind ultimately. And
there was a shake-up at the record company as well. There was people being sacked and departments being taken over and all sorts of things going on. So it was a bit of a rocky period, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was. It didn't kind of go. The first time was fantastic. We love the recording process. We love what we did, me and the producer. We really, the songs were great. It seemed to be sunshine all the time. Second album was a bit more miserable, and didn't really, didn't that kind of showed a bit. I think. I mean, it's still some really great. I mean, like Cool Breeze on that. We play that now, and it stands out as a really great song. But I don't think, as a whole, it's as good as Slinky.
Yeah, you talked about your kind of extensive touring and being on the road quite a bit. What are the kind of standout gigs for you? Is there somewhere you kind of think, yeah, you know what, that was the one you all either individually or collectively look back on and think that's when we were at our real peak, or maybe a collection of gigs?
I think that the one we played at Boston actually was probably
it was electric.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
I mean, it was
gasoline.
Yeah,
it was just amazing. Remember that?
It was all very. I mean, I flew. You pinched some whiskey from the marquee in New York the night before, and we were drinking that on stage. And we were kind of like right in the rock and roll eye of the storm at that point, and I think we were matched for anyone's. And I think that really. That's so period.
You smashed the guitar, didn't you?
Yeah, I was even doing a bit of
real rock and roll.
Didn't have anything to play after that, but
knackered for the rest of the tour after that.
Yeah, okay, it's all down.
Yeah, just kind of bands from that era. I mean, I know Tim Burgess from Charlatans, kind of with his listening party on Twitter, brought Slinky back to the kind of public psyche.
Yeah.
Is Tim somebody you've kept in touch with, or did that kind of come out of the blue? I think he's missed both your gigs, or he missed the Hebden Bridge gig because he was performing in Halifax, and I think he's performing close by again on the Lancaster date, so won't be able to make that either, I'm told.
I know. Well, the Hebden Bridge gig, I think Charlton played in Halifax. High Flying Birds are playing in Manchester. It was festival, so yeah, we were quite with on what we've done here, but anyway. But no, we haven't kept in touch. We did quite a long UK tour with the Charlatans, so we did get to know them reasonably well. But I think we drifted off the scene, and they've kept going. So we kind of we haven't kept in touch.
Are you surprised that people have still got that interest in Slinky? I mean, Slinky, when it came out, 5-star review in Q, very rare to get a 5-star review in Q. The kind of love for Slinky during that listening party, it was incredible, weren't it? Are you surprised that it's stood the test of time? People are still interested, and kind of younger crowds through something like that are now kind of discovering it.
Yeah, amazed really. It is, because I mean, it is a long, long time ago, years. So yeah, it is. But for us, I think being in them, we're all. It's something we all feel part of, isn't it? Even now, that we still. It's something we're very proud of. Something we did. Like we're all. Like you were 19 when we signed to. We're all really young, and it was such a phenomenal experience for us. That's kind of carried us through our lives. We kind of carried it with us. But there's been some real downs, but some amazing highs. And yeah, it is amazing to think that people still are listening to it and will come and watch us play.
Sorry, Barney.
When we started out, the 60s were a big influence for all of us, and that just seemed like a lifetime ago. When we were sort of in our late teens, but when we were doing our thing in the early late 80s, early 90s, that's the same period now to where we are now. It's crazy. It's such a long time ago.
You're the Hollies of our youth, aren't you?
We're actually planning, hopefully, we've been in touch with Universal to get hold of the master of Slinky to see if we can create a new vinyl pressing of it. So that's something we're hopefully doing in the next sort of 2 or 3 months. So that'll be available perhaps as a box set with other bits and pieces, and then maybe extra tracks as well. So something
nice.
Oh, excellent.
Do you own the masters, or do you have to negotiate?
Well, actually, literally this week I was talking to the asset manager, archiving manager at Universal, and he says he's passed it on to the Polydor's legal team to see who owns it and whether we can access it. It'd be great if we own it. It would be amazing. But I'm not sure. I don't know yet.
we own all the digital rights because obviously there's no digital when we signed it. It wasn't even existing, so that's fine. It's just the actual physical copy.
The actual physical. Yeah. Great to get hold of that. I'm sure we could. They'll do a deal with us. I'm sure they'll let us license it if they still own it.
No, I was going to say, like, in terms of like the local music scene, when you emerge, like the music scene around Burnley, Nelson, Colne, and so on, it's quite different now, isn't it? I mean, from I was living back home again for a while until October, and went around quite a few pubs and saw bands, and it's mostly sort of tribute bands and cover bands, isn't it, that are doing the pubs. Whereas back in that time, in the late 80s, there used to be, I remember bands like Walter Mitty's Head and so on, and those kind of bands that were playing some kind of, it was their own music, heavily influenced by stuff and so on. But has that been lost a little bit, do you think, over the years, or is there still something out there that we just don't know about?
Well, I must admit, I've got my finger on the music scene, but I know that there's a band doing very well in Burnley, isn't it, at the moment?
Goa Express,
doing really well. So that's great, I think, because when we were playing, we played the Mechanics like quite a few times in the Cork Municipal Hall, and those were really great nights, and Burnley was, I'm not saying at the time actually, the Angels and Cats, there's a lot of dance music going in around Burnley. It was a bit more of a scene for music. I don't know now if it's still the same. I couldn't say, but it's good to see that bands like Goa Express are doing really well.
I mean, there's DJs on everywhere, isn't there? That's more of the live, well, in inverted commas, live music of today, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like being Burnley fans, you were living down in London. Were all of you down in London, or just? I
lived in London for about 8 years, and then moved back 20 odd years ago. So I've been back here for quite a while. You never moved out, did you?
Well, we had a few months here and there when we were recording or whatever. We spent a lot of time there, but I never actually properly moved down to London.
Yeah, I was living there actually from the sort of late 80s. We had a place with my wife down there. Moved out. We're there to 2004 actually. So yeah, I was living in London. So when we first started, the lads were up in Manchester and I was down in London. So it was quite good because I was able to take the demo tape round and get gigs at various places. You come down in always late and causing stress. But we had Steve Lamacq watches it. Where was it? The Bull and Gate, wasn't it? And
that was the start of it, really. Simon had got us this gig at the Bull and Gate, which is near the Town Country Club at the time. And we'd arrived late because we just always did, and he was pacing around. Angrily.
I was a bit older and more stressed.
And then we went on, and we were like first on the bill of 5, and there was nobody there. So that we were going, well, what's this? Played in front of about 5 people. And as we were packing the van up to drive back to Manchester, I was getting a drink, and this guy came up and said, "Oh, have you got demo tape?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, here you go." It's Steve Lamacq at NME. I was like, "Oh." And literally the next week, he wrote a brilliant review of it. And the next gig we played in London was full of A&R managers, and that was the start of it. Really, it was only about 6 or 7 gigs. So we were very luck comes into it, doesn't it?
And the massive power the music press had at that time, didn't it? To make or break bands. Yeah.
So we're always grateful for Steve Lamacq. He's been a big champion of ours over the years.
Yeah, he still plays on Radio 6 Music. Yeah.
Did you in those days when you were away and touring and so on? How often did you get to see the Clarets? Were you travelling back quite a bit, or?
Yeah, we did. When we were living in London, I remember going to see them at Millwall and Gillingham and Brentford, that sort of teams. Charlton,
Luton, Reading, Elm Park. I remember seeing Elm Park.
Yeah, so we did go to ones around the south, definitely.
Yeah.
And obviously when we were back here visiting, we go and see them.
Yeah.
And what about the kind of the modern Clarets, if we can call us that nowadays, the kind of VK revolution? Last season was just incredible. This season yet to properly take off, I think is the best way to describe it.
Yes,
It's kind of, you guys must be same as us, just loving life under Vincent company.
Well, I have a season ticket, and with my eldest son, and we've had it since, I don't know, since he was 9 or 10. He's been coming, and I say to him, you know, you don't believe what Burnley used to be like, because they've always been in the Premiership, or Premier League, or you know, the Championship. So it isn't even with the Dyche era. Before that, it's been a great time for Burnley. And you look at the ground now; it's completely different experience. I thought last year was one of the most enjoyable seasons. It was absolutely amazing, wasn't it? I think the football and just winning all the time was great. I think this season, it seems like the Premier League's even harder now than the teams that have come. I mean, Spurs, when we were playing down, you used to get a chance of beating them, didn't you? But I thought they were really, really great. So I think it's tough, been a tough start, but I think we'll be all right. I think you can't really have any doubts about, Vincent company at the moment, can you, what he's done?
Just so refreshing to see them playing some lovely football, last season and again this season. I know it's not, turned into results as yet, but we all believe it will.
Yeah, I think, it's I mean, it's such a young team, isn't it? It's to put Trafford in goal, 19, Collier Shaw 18. It's such a young team. There'll be very few managers who would, do that, I think, and put them out there. But I think once it starts to gel, as it is, we'll start getting the results, and we'll get enough to keep up.
Yeah.
What's your feelings about like the way the club's been sort of a little bit sold around the world, in a sense that we've got American owners now, and there's over here, me and Woody on the podcast both live in the States, and it is quite weird watching like the Jimmy Fallon show, and there's JJ Watt coming on with a Benedictine and and on the one hand, I look at it and I'm like, okay, I can see why they're doing it. It's marketing, it's branding, it's broadening the reach of the brand to new markets, blah blah blah. But on the other hand, when you come from the area, it also feels a bit naff as well. What are your feelings about that? Is it just inevitable, or? I think
because it's new at the moment, it's quite interesting to look at. But I think the worry is if they go away, if they leave and it stops, what will be left? I think that's why it continues and why it's successful. I think it's everyone's kind of enjoying the ride, especially with the football that's going on. But there's always as a Birmingham, there's always that nagging feeling of it can't go on forever. But let's hope it goes on for a very long time. But I mean, I don't think there's enough programs that promote Burnley as parochial and small town. I think it's not a bad thing for the club to be showing that it's actually quite forward thinking and modern.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you talk to people. I mean, imagine in the days when you were playing in Boston, not a lot of people would have heard of Burnley, whereas, now you mention, somebody says where you're from and you say Burnley, and they're like, half the people you mentioned it to are like, oh yeah, Premier League team.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, we have been in the Premier League for like
9 seasons.
A long time. I know where the colour dips out, but we've been, in that world for a long time now.
Yeah.
We should ask really in terms of Burnley and everything like that. Who are your all-time favourite Burnley players? Because I think that's always, I think ours kind of, we change a little bit about, but
Billy Hamilton.
Yeah, good choice.
Leighton James.
Yeah. I'd probably go Robbie Blake, I think.
Robbie Blake? Yeah. Good one.
Excellent.
That sort of team, I think, were with
Glenn Little.
Glenn Little, yeah.
That was good.
Vince Overson.
Vince
I used to love him.
Yeah, Vince.
Big Vince.
Yeah, he was.
The first thing I can really remember was Vince, Michael Phelan and Trevor Stephen and that team. It was the first one.
Terry Cochran.
Trevor Stephen.
Tony Morley was it? Who was winger?
Yeah.
Tony Morley went skinhead, didn't he? Yeah, he was. Yeah. No, they were interesting. That young team, I remember that was the first team I really liked at Burnley when Phelan and Dobson were playing together at the back, and then it was.
When we played Liverpool in the semi-final, was it of the cup? I don't know if it was FA Cup or the League Cup or Milk or whatever it was.
Milk Cup, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
My claim's firm. I played in the Pendle under 12s, under 11s with Mike Phelan. We were the same team together. So. And his great brother went a lot further than mine, but yeah, we're in the same team.
Yeah, but he can play guitar, can he?
No,
he didn't play in Boston with Nirvana. I mean, that's sliding doors moments and things like that, isn't it? You know, I mean, it's kind of he's won Premier League.
He was by far the best player in that team, though. You could really tell. He played on the right wing in those days.
Yeah, no, he was good. We've had him on the pod actually, Mark. He did our pre-season preview for us, and he was great. Yeah, no, he's had an incredible career.
Definitely.
Matthew's son is playing. Matthew. Yeah, it's a professional contract now. Matthew's
he's
younger son.
Yeah,
he's a Preston North End actually. He's David Ayres is his agent, so there's a Burnley connection.
Right,
excellent.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
Excellent stuff. Well, just for everybody else, just as we finish, still tickets available for the Cantina at Lancaster. I think just a couple of tickets left for that one.
Yeah.
25th of November. No tickets left for Barney, but hopefully more gigs in the new year post Christmas as well. For anybody who's missed out on tickets so far. Thanks a lot, gents. Really, really enjoyed chatting. Hopefully, we'll get to see you play Turf Moor at some point. We'll keep banging the drum for a big Turf Moor gig. Maybe get Dave Fishwick down and he can experience a proper gig at Turf Moor rather than that kind of nonsense on the Netflix documentary. But yeah. Follow Milltown Brothers on Twitter and Facebook. Search for Milltown Brothers for details of those tickets. And we'll be back on Monday with another show and another special guest. Until then, up the Clarets. Enjoy your weekend and see you soon.
Up the Clarets.
Thank you.